Don't tell them stories about me as a little girl. And Dad, try not to get too technical, because you're not very bright. See, I made the mistake by sharing with my teenagers that I failed grade 3. Now, I have no opinion. And the last piece of advice she gave is, Dad, don't try and tell them a joke, because you're not very funny. So where does that leave me? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure sharing with you this morning. I hope you have a great day. I've been in school district 2 for the last 20 years, and I do love my job. For the last 3 years, I've been helping to operate the in-school suspension room for high schools. We service Moncton High, Harrison Trimble, and Bernice McNaughton High School. How many people here remember Reg Constantine, retired principal here from Harrison Trimble High School? Great. I saw him in the grocery store the other day, and I have a lot of respect for the man, and I went up to him and I said, Reg, how are you enjoying retirement? He looked at me and he said, Joe, I have nothing to do, and I still only get it half done. He looked at me and said, Joe, what are you doing? I said, Reg, I'm operating the in-school suspension room. There was 10 seconds of dead silence. He looked at me and said, Joe, you must have really screwed up. I said, no, I really enjoy it, but there are times that I do get exhausted. There are times that I do get frustrated, much like these polar bears. If I have to do another one of those Coca-Cola commercials, I'm going to puke. And there are times that I like to take the odd child to this restaurant. Now, this is an actual dinner menu that I saw. And it had on the dinner menu, turkey, $2.35. Chicken, $2.25. And what menu would be complete if you didn't have children, $2? And of course, there are times that I complain, much like these dogs. My feet are just freezing. Buddy, you have problems. That taught me that whenever I complain, there's always somebody out there with a worse problem. I have a quiz for you. What do you do when you have a teenager that has a lot of time on his or her hands, a sharp knife, green grapefruit, a very patient cat, and of course a camera? The answer is... It reminds me of the story of this woman who has 8 children, half of which are teenagers. And her husband was working in Germany. She decides to take all of her children and go to Germany on vacation. They arrive at the customs office, and the customs officer watches this entourage of people coming in. He looked at the mother and said, ma'am, are all these children and luggage yours? With a sigh, she looked at the customs officer and says, yes, they're all mine. So he proceeded with his interrogation. He said, ma'am, do you have in your possession any contraband drugs or weapons? With this most tired look in her face, she looked at the customs officer and said, sir, if I had any of those things, I would have used them by now. This is why some mothers of teenagers understand why that there are animals out there that actually eat their young. And there are times that we like to take the advice of the aspirin bottle, take 2 aspirin, and keep away from children. So why do we do it? Why do we work with these children? We know that there are times that it's frustrating, they can get exhausting. Well, I have a theory. You all genuinely care for the future of your children. I've been fortunate to work with some great staffs. Birchmount, Queen Elizabeth, Harrison Trimble High School, Lou McNairn School, Bernice McNaughton School. And the common thread amongst all the staffs that I have worked with is that you genuinely care for the future. I even go so far as to say you love the children that you teach. And that's the common thread. In 1986, I signed my first contract to teach physical education at Harrison Trimble High School. I remember thinking that I knew everything there was to know about teaching because I had done graduated from university. And I had confidence in my professors that they taught me everything I needed to know about teaching children. I was getting my room ready for that first day of school. It was so exciting. A veteran teacher by the name of Dave Blakeney comes down to my room. He says, "Joe, can I give you some advice?" I said, "Sure," knowing that I knew everything there was to know about teaching. He says, "Joe, those that can't do, those that can't teach, and those that can't teach become physical education teachers." We shared a laugh. Actually, Dave became one of my mentors because every time he thought I did something good, he was always there to congratulate me. Another mentor I had was Perry Kokona. Perry also taught physical education. He coached wrestling, football, rugby. I was initiated to Perry when I went to the lower gym in Harrison Truman High School, and there was Perry standing in the middle of the wrestling mats, deep in thought. Those of you who don't know Perry, Perry has a very powerful presence about himself. His shoulders are as wide as he is tall, with about 2% body fat. Don't ever accuse of him of looking like SpongeBob. He has this white pearly grin that sometimes you should beware. He looked at me and says, "Joe, can you give me a hand?" Well, knowing that I knew everything there was to know about teaching, and really I should share my vast knowledge with other professionals. I pranced on over there and said, "Sure, I'll help." Before I could get the word "help" out of my mouth, he grabbed me and turned me into a human pretzel. I had my head embedded into the wrestling mat about 6 inches, and I remember looking up and seeing some of my body parts in positions that I never thought possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a very flexible man, but that's the closest I have ever come to kissing my own behind. But Perry taught me how important it was to encourage our children to follow their dreams through hard work, dedication, commitment. And he did this by leading many sports teams to following their dreams, and them experiencing accomplishing their dreams and accomplishing their goals. Another mentor I had was Judy Botor. Oh, Judy. Judy taught me how important it was to set an example for our children. In the fall, we administered fitness tests to our children, one of which was a 12-minute run. It required us to herd all our students out to a track and instruct them to run around that track as many times as possible in 12 minutes. Well, we thought it would be good to set an example for our children. So Perry and I said, well, we'll run with one class a day and change classes every subsequent days. Not Judy. Judy runs with every class, every day, and still has energy to run with whatever sports team she is coaching. Now, I know what you're thinking. Drugs. She just went back to university at the ripe old age. Okay, we won't go there. But she made the basketball team. Taught those ladies a thing or two. Rumor had it they did drug testing, and you'll be happy to know she was clean. But she taught me how important it was to set that example to our children, because actions speak louder than words. Another mentor I had was Owen Fraser. He taught me that anything is possible. Anything that you set your mind to. Reg Constantine at the time asked me if I could teach computer programming. I said, sure. I have to admit, I didn't have a lot of confidence in my ability because I didn't even know how to turn the machines on. Owen took me under his wing and convinced me that I could do anything I set my mind to. And sure enough, he led me to teaching computer programming to my students. And I had a ball. And then I realized it. He not only instilled that in me, he instilled that in his students. And if you could have seen the caliber of work that he was getting from his students, you would have been truly amazed. So as you can see, I was surrounded by some great mentors. And there are many more, which I don't have time to go over this morning. Did I know everything there was to know about teaching? No, I didn't. As Nancy Roach would say, I didn't know that I didn't know. But they did teach me how important it was to encourage our children to follow their dreams. How important it was to set an example to our students. And how important it was to say the sky's the limit. Anything is possible as long as you put your mind to it. How do we get our children to that point? How do we get that transformation of information? Other mentors that I have had taught me how important it was to listen to our children.